Now for your Atari 2600, M-Network Dark Cavern from Mattel Electronics. A video game of you against them. They're spiders, blobs, and robots, and you're a sitting duck. M-Network Dark Cavern. It'll have a surprising effect on your TV. Buy any two M-Network games by March 4th, and we'll send you one free.
It's the future, and you're stuck in a hedge maze with killer robots and other creatures of the night. That's right, it's time to review Dark Cavern for the Atari 2600. Totally Dark Cavern, not a different game from another console, it's Dark Cavern. Now, this is my first time actually reviewing an M-Network title for this channel, and that's notable because M-Network games for the Atari 2600 are actually ports of Intellivision titles. That's right, M-Network was Mattel, and they just ported over some of their Intellivision games to the 2600, which, for one, is baffling in terms of today's perspective. We're starting to see that more now. We see companies like Xbox bring games over to Switch and PlayStation. We even see PlayStation bring games over to PC. But there's just thinking about bringing your games over to your competition directly it's still a strange concept to us. And video games have been around for a while. It turns out it's been happening since the beginning of gaming. And on the Intellivision, Dark Stalker is, Dark Cavern, I got the names mixed up. Dark Cavern is actually known as a game called Night Stalker. They are one and the same. It's just when they brought it over to the Atari 2600, they changed the title to Dark Cavern. So, Night Stalker on the Intellivision, Dark Cavern on 2600, they're the same game. If I had to describe this game, I would say it's probably more of a mix of Berserk and Pac-Man. It is a maze-based game where the objective isn't to collect things, it's to take out enemies. So you do have a full view of the maze. And within that, you have different enemies that are trying to come your way. The big one are the robots. They're the guys with the spinning-looking parts on them. And they're your main enemy. They're the enemy that's going to score you the points if you defeat them, because they're the ones that can actually shoot back at you. And I found them to be pretty tough. Whenever you round corners, they are quick to fire at you. And I don't actually show it here. There are two difficulties to this game. Full transparency, whenever I record footage for this channel of Atari games, I have to use my computer to do it because I don't have a great setup to record original hardware right now. So while I do own this game on the 2600 and I also have versions of it on the Atari VCS, I have to record it off RetroArch. But I couldn't figure out how to change difficulties because I really wanted to show the other difficulty of this game because it does get pretty nuts. But I couldn't figure it out how to set up that input on RetroArch. So if you're familiar with Atari 2600 emulation on RetroArch and you know how to set that up through RetroArch, please let me know because I would love to be able to record higher difficulties on some of these games, with the dip switches. But with that being said, the robots are crazy hard. The ones on the first difficulty fire straight ahead. The ones on the higher difficulty actually fire in both directions. So while the first difficulty, it's pretty easy to get in behind them to kill them. On the higher difficulty, they will fire in all directions, and they are a menace. The other enemies don't do damage to you, per se. The first one is I think it's a spider. It poisons and stops you in your tracks for a few minutes, which is inconvenient. It's probably the lesser of the two, but it's still inconvenient because it can stop you in your tracks and you can, end up getting shot by the enemy. The other one is the blob, and if you touch the blob-looking thing, it will, like the swirly-looking guy, it will actually take away your ammo, and that's something I haven't talked about either. This game actually has an ammo counter up top. Every once in a while, you'll see a gun icon flash in the maze. And what you want to do is actually go grab that gun icon because you do have limited ammo. Each time you get to grab a gun, it adds 10 shots to your total ammo. But you don't want to waste shots in this game. So sometimes it's not even worth taking out the smaller enemies, especially on the higher difficulties, because every shot matters. And you definitely don't want that blob enemy to take away your bullets. This game's really fucking cool. I like Dark Cavern a lot. I'm not as familiar with the Intellivision library. It's something that I would like to get into more. I've played, a handful of games. But this one's really solid. Dark Cavern, Night Stalker, whatever you want to call it. It's a pretty damn good game, and it plays really well here on the Atari 2600. Something I find to be pretty cute. I don't know the origins, again, because I'm not as big into Intellivision. But I love the fact that if you look at the Intellivision logo and you look at the guy from this game, they look like the same guy, right? Like the little running man. So I don't know if this is where that character's from directly, but I like to think it is. And recently, after the whole Intellivision Amico debacle, and all that, Tommy Tallarico and all his bullshit with that company, Atari bought the rights for Intellivision and all of the games. So this game is actually owned by Atari now. And to celebrate, they actually released Dark Cavern as just a standalone ROM on the VCS for 99 cents. And I like to imagine that was their way of celebrating. And this game has the little running man, so I like to imagine this was their gloat. Yeah, we own it. We saved the brand from Tommy Tallarico and his awful grifting schemes, because he's a scam artist. So that's cute, and I'm happy to play it. That's actually why I did this review, because I got to play it some more, even though I do own it on a cartridge. I was on my VCS and I noticed it was on there, and I was like, I should really play Dark Cavern and give it a try. And I was pleasantly surprised. It's a great game. It's a great title to add to your Atari 2600 library. So if you like maze games and games like Berserk, give it a try. It's fan-fucking-tastic. I don't know why in the future we have a lot of hedge mazes and robots chasing us through hedge mazes, but that sounds like a nightmare. And I hope I die before I can see that day.